grew out from Jewish atheism and unfortunate lanes of funding that nobody really likes to talk about because then they'll start to sound too Eurocentric 1930s. I will save my truth-telling for another day. However, that's not going to stop me from talking about Stardust Solutions. Stardust Solutions. I know it sounds like that sounds like something the Guardians of the Galaxy would be looking to find in the next movie or something. But this is not some sort of fluid material that's going to help. It's not like what is it called in Dune? The chems fluid stuff that they're looking for. The spice. Yeah, that stuff. This is not the spice from Dune. It is an American-Israeli startup developing solar geoengineering technology, and it is planning to cool the planet by spraying sunlight reflecting particles into the stratosphere. Folks, if this already sounds like a bad idea, be worried. The company recently revealed that its previously guarded priority particles are made from amorphous silica, a common food additive, and calcium carbonate found in limestone. Folks, let's just get into it. Let's dive right into the facts. I don't want anybody to be coming at me saying that I'm saying untruths when I'm just dropping facts. Let's go. Stardust Solutions is an American-Israeli startup developing solar geoengineering technology, and they have plans to cool our planet by spraying sunlight-reflecting particles into the stratosphere. Folks, they are creating a proprietary mix of particles made of amorphous silica, a common food additive, and calcium carbonate, which is found in limestone. This is there's a debate happening, obviously. People are saying, oh, this might be 100% safe, Bill Gates, or a lot of common sense thinkers are going, maybe spraying this into the air is more so a hideous risk that we should maybe try to steer ourselves away from. And listen, the plan currently is for teams of about 100 jets flying about 11 miles up, flying around us 24/7, spraying this chemical in the air. They want this running 24 hours a day, about 100 jets in different teams by 2030. The argument that they're saying right now is the proponents, they're pitching the approach as the necessary, the fast-tracked intervention, that it's avoiding the dangerous side effects of the of older volcano-inspired sulfate-based methods, which, let's be honest, guys, if you don't know about the volcano-based sulfate, silicate that's been spraying into the air with chemtrails over the years, you're so behind. You got to get on it, ladies and gentlemen. If you're one of those idiots that thinks, oh, the government can't control the weather, what are you talking about? You're retarded. You're actually... I'm sorry, I gotta swallow because there's so much saliva building up in my mouth because I'm so angry at you. I want to foam at the mouth at you. You are so behind mentally, physically. This is not you. If you know, you know. But if you're one of these people that hasn't figured out that the government can control the weather and you're still sitting on your hands and you're like, I don't know. You really think they could have that technology? They've had a bill limiting it in the use of war since the 1970s. You do not create a treaty for a weapon you do not have, ladies and gentlemen. They are saying that this is naturally occurring inert elements, amorphous silica and calcium carbonate. They're abundant. They're biodegradable. And the company, they're claiming that it's chemically inert and harmless to humans and the ecosystems. In all honesty, in control and whatnot, they haven't been able to prove it en masse because, in all honesty, once you introduce it to the general populace versus to a mouse that you're experimenting on, obviously it's going to be a little bit different. Stardust is engineering a system that they claim to be, they can be halted quickly if unanticipated environmental impacts can occur. Once you've started spraying it, in my personal opinion, it's already out in the atmosphere. When we let DuPont poison all those rivers up in Minnesota, was anybody too happy about that? When 3M was making, farmers, cows get all foamy at the mouth and lay down and die? Is anybody satisfied about that? Okay. The startup states that it will only conduct outdoor tests and deployments alongside governments with robust regulatory frameworks. What does that even fucking mean? The company has also published a 6-page academic paper detailing its particles and atmospheric modeling to invite scientific scrutiny. However, there is already the argument for the hideous risks coming from critics, including the environmental groups and atmospheric scientists, viewing the commercialization of solar geoengineering as reckless, ungovernable, and an absolute gamble with many people's lives. Ecological and health uncertainty, even if the particles are safe in the upper atmosphere, scientists warn that the processed particles falling to the lower atmosphere could introduce unstudied health risks. And also many people are saying if a private company or nation pauses the continuous spraying of particles, the Earth's temperature could spike rapidly, creating a catastrophic terminal termination shock, in their words. Private control over the global commons in general, people are arguing that the atmospheric modification should not be a for-profit venture that a company in Israel, of all places, has their eye on, ladies and gentlemen. Listen. It could create uneven climate impacts that benefit some nations while harming others. We're seeing some scientists saying this could create droughts. Famines will already be hitting Africa this year with all of the bullshit that we've been doing. It's not as though we need to be heaving on, man-made weather disasters on these people even more so, even though that's probably what we're already doing. They manufacture the weather in the Middle East all the time right now, especially with the war. Why do you think it hasn't stopped raining in Iran in certain regions for weeks? There's also a lack of independent testing because the technology cannot be thoroughly tested without deployment on a planetary scale. Doing so poses an inevitable risk to the delicate global weather patterns. Folks, the exaggerated risk that many people throw out there, whether humans are murdering the planet, in all honesty, yes, does pumping our carbon into the air affect the atmosphere? Yes, slightly. However, when you look at global models of climate, when you look at, long-term history, there's more carbon in the atmosphere. There's a global greening effect happening, as a matter of fact, because what do plants thrive off of? Help me. I love how I have to explain this to some people that are like climate scientists. They're like, we're burning carbon. We're throwing carbon into the air. We're putting carbon dioxide in the air. What do you think plants thrive on? What do you think there is a global re-greening. Vast deserts are starting to show signs again. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, am I saying that I want there to be more carbon in the atmosphere than since the dinosaur age? No, because there weren't people around back then. But also, ladies and gentlemen, the planet goes through these cycles all the time. If we can move towards renewable energy sources, or even nuclear, by the way, if we can start talking serious, like about nuclear again, because not everywhere's Chernobyl, and most of the time people think of just older, water-based cooling systems that are bound to explode at a certain point. But if there are other ways that we can be doing this. Humans, in all honesty, we fearmonger, but we also have legitimate concerns. It's hard to find the balance in this weird little messed up world of ours, ladies and gentlemen. But geoengineering is not even an argument anymore. If you're still in the camp where you're like, I don't know if the government can really control it, you sound like a bit of a conspiracy theorist. You're a retard. And I want you out of don't listen to the show anymore. Because if you can't handle that base level information, I can't help you. No one is going to drag you into the light where you belong. I keep saying this to people, ladies and gentlemen. Where do you belong? It's up to you where you belong. Okay, let's hear, 5 years ago, I have a clip from CBS News about them talking about geoengineering, just so I can confirm it for all the retards.
In Climate Watch, the climate crisis has sparked innovative new technologies aimed at reversing the human-caused warming of the planet. But some of these methods are controversial, and the climate community is split on how to move forward. For more, I'm joined by CBS News meteorologist and climate specialist Jeff Berardelli. Jeff, let's start with the basics. What is geoengineering, and how far along is the science?
So I find this fascinating because it's essentially man-made manipulation of the climate. And obviously it's very controversial. So it's essentially us engineering solutions to the climate. Like behind me, that is direct air capture. We're going to be talking about that. We're also going to be talking about solar radiation management, which is dimming of the sun. All of these things are somewhat new, or at least they need a lot more research to really get better and become robust, but they do generate a ton of controversy.
Let's get into the specifics. We'll start off by discussing carbon capture. Tell us how it works, and why are some members of the climate community so skeptical of it?
So there are a couple of different types of carbon capture. The first one, most common one, is when you're making products, industries making products, or making electricity, power plants, as those fossil fuels are being burned, what happens is a lot of that carbon dioxide is then sucked up before it gets released into the atmosphere. So that's one type of carbon capture. The other kind is right behind me. It's literally sucking carbon dioxide right out of the atmosphere, which is a tougher process. This one is more in its infancy. But just to give you an idea, we can only extract about 1,000 times less carbon dioxide than we're putting out into the atmosphere right now. So this right now is not scaled by any means. It's not ready for prime time, but the hope is that at some point it will be.
So maybe one tool, but not necessarily the tool. Let's talk about solar geoengineering. It's a technology that's really still in its conceptual phase, as I understand it. So tell us how it would work and how effective it might be.
Yeah, let's hear it.
So you can kind of see it behind me. What you do is you fly planes into the stratosphere, about 60,000 feet into the atmosphere, and you just spray aerosols, and it blocks out, it dims the sun. Enough of the sun to perhaps reduce temperatures by around 1 degree Fahrenheit. Of course, you wouldn't want to do too much of that. It's very simple. It's very inexpensive. It may only cost...
It's very simple. No need to worry about it. Why would you even need to do the science about it, ladies and gentlemen? Why won't you just let us poison your atmosphere the way that, well, the stratosphere, and I guess the troposphere eventually, but why won't you just let us poison you? You already let us do it to the fucking food. You're still going to McDonald's, you good goy.
Do too much of that. It's very simple. It's very inexpensive. It may only cost a few $1 billion a year.
It may only cost a few $1 billion a year.
The reason why we know it works is because about 30 years ago, Mount Pinatubo, and anytime we have a really big volcanic eruption, it shoots all those aerosols into the stratosphere that dims the sun, and we measure a temperature that usually goes down from Pinatubo is about a 1 degree temperature.
1 degree. But keep in mind, you're going to be doing this every single day. You're going to be erupting volcanoes around the Earth every single day in the stratosphere. How great of an idea does it sound when I voice it in that context? Anybody alive for Mount St. Helens explosion? Anybody alive for any major, like, I know maybe any Mount Vesuvius crowd in here tonight, ladies and gentlemen? Maybe not. Maybe you in the back. Okay, cool. That's awesome. Nice granite. Okay, let's just hear the last bits.
Drop over the course of 1 to 2 years or so. So we know it's effective. It's about a 1 degree temperature drop over the course of 1 to 2 years or so. So we know it's effective. But because it's so inexpensive, it really freaks a lot of scientists out. Because it can be done unilaterally. It could be done by a small nation. It could be done by a really, really rich person. And we don't know what the side effects are. There hasn't been much research at all yet into this, and certainly there needs to be a lot more of it. But a lot of scientists and a lot of people in the climate community don't even want to go that route because they're afraid if we do this or the carbon capture, that it may delay our transition over from fossil fuels. It may kind of kick the can down the road and allow us to use fossil fuels for a longer...
There's not going to be a transition off of fossil fuels. Anybody who is still on that nonsense, the idea that we're going to get entirely off of fossil fuels, they're not living in a reality that we can currently maintain. Wind, solar, all that bullshit, it still relies on petrol. You can go listen to Billy Bob Thornton rant about it if you want. I can never voice it in as fluid or as masculine or as, quite honestly, sexy a way that he could. You know what I mean, ladies and gentlemen? You go watch that Landman show once or thrice. Yeah, it'll give you a comfier image of Mexicans, and you'll be mildly more conservative around the environment. There you go.
When the other solutions like renewable energy, solar, wind, nuclear, hydro, all those things are ready and raring to go, and they're moving very quickly. So most folks in the climate community don't love it because it could be a distraction. Oh, and by the way, when it comes to solar geoengineering, so blocking the sun out, if you ever stopped, let's say you did it for 30 years, and then you stopped, all of a sudden, almost instantaneously, all that warming that you would see over that time, that would occur almost instantaneously and could be catastrophic. So there are a lot of concerns with this. This is kind of a don't do it until you break glass in case of emergency kind of situation.
So this is 5 years ago. 5 years ago, I put this in the description. It is called Geoengineering, a controversial solution that could help fight the climate change crisis. Listen, this is 5 years ago. They were saying this is a bad idea. The moment you stop spraying it into the atmosphere, we're going to have a catastrophic warming of the planet. You've been offsetting that warming. It's just going to pour back in. Who in their right minds is going this is a grand idea? This is a grand old bargain for us in the United States. We love a good bargain, and so do the Jews, so we work well as a community.
That's so interesting, Jeff, because, when you're first describing it,
Is
sounds
it?
like, well, there's the answer, right? Like, too much solar radiation, right? Let's just fix it by repairing almost the holes in our ozone layer. What you're saying, though, is that
listen, if I have these like thinky moments on the show, I understand if people click away, but like you can't be doing this when you're on the news. People are going to be switching the channel. This girl's an amateur. Christ.
To stop that immediately, all the cumulative effect. Am I understanding you correctly? The cumulative.
Let me throw in a smart word: cumulative effect. Fuck.
Stop that immediately, all the cumulative effect. Am I understanding you correctly? The cumulative effect of what we've blocked would immediately come and radiate down on the Earth.
Radiate.
It's true if we hadn't already taken out the carbon dioxide. So remember, this doesn't take out the carbon dioxide right here. So the carbon dioxide is just building up that whole time. That's why people are afraid to employ this, because if you do this, maybe you don't do as much of the carbon capture, or maybe you just keep burning fossil fuels. 30 years later, you have a lot more carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, and then all of a sudden, you've been artificially reducing temperatures. All of a sudden, bang, those temperatures go way up. And now you're dealing with a real catastrophe because everything has to adapt that much faster. So it's precarious. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. I always say that, but it's important.
You said that? Wait a minute, you guys. Wait a minute. I think this is the guy. Wait, you did that? That's your thing? That's fucking crazy. Can I get your autograph? Wait a minute. Like, everybody knows that. Everybody knows that lyric. That's like one of everybody's favorite lyrics.
Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. I always say that, but it's important.
That's off your classic album.
Interesting concept. You're going to be hearing a lot more about it in the future. Hopefully this is something we don't ever have to do, but in case of an emergency, we could actually reduce atmospheric temperatures by a degree, and perhaps even more if we really needed to.
I can see why it's so controversial, but I can also see why it's potentially so exciting. Jeff, thank you.
Jeff, thank you. You're so welcome. Oh my goodness, ladies and gentlemen. Well, I will let you think to yourself whether or not you would love to be sitting on your porch, you and your mom, you're hanging out with your mom again. You guys haven't seen each other in a while, and you have some shit to dish, in all honesty. You know what I mean? You guys you collect the information from your lives that you live separately, and then maybe like once every couple weekends, you get to sit with your mom again, and you're like, all right, let's just talk. And then then you and your mom, you're going to sit there on this porch this weekend and you're going to go, well, I mean, have you heard about this we're going to be sitting on this porch 2030s, and you're going to have that lemonade, but I'm going to tell you to cover it up because we don't know if the silica is falling into it. We don't know if the geoengineering, and your mom's going to look at you stressed out. She's going to be like, I was born in 1967. I really I'm not from a time where this stuff was ever talked about. I grew up in the 80s, you know what I mean? I was around for the stock market during that time. I did coke, you know what I mean? We were all just having fun. I was listening to Prince, I was dancing, and you listen to your mom and you love her stories because, in all honesty, you talk to your parents more. They've lived a life, and it's very interesting to hear about. And then, your mom, things felt different after 9/11. Talk to her about it. She'll probably tell you. She'll be like, yeah, it got weird once, you started looking at your phone and you started realizing that someone always knows where I am. Someone always because of this. And then you go into your car. Back when your mom was a kid, 80s, 90s, your mom got into the car. No one knew where that car was going. Nowadays, though, your mom gets in her car. The government could take that car over with a fucking digital, AI, type in the password. And the next thing you know, they're flying your mother off a cliff or into a tree. What I'm trying to say is, if your mom is not running alongside the CIA, running against them, then maybe you don't have anything to worry about. Your mom is just not used to this world. It's up to you to keep her informed. And this is going to be stressful, man. Your mom she's not going to take it well. In all honesty, Dad's not going to care. Dad is he is going to go, I'm gonna die 30, 40 or so years. Who cares? He's already realized that the stoic thing to do is to sit and to just kind of take it in. He's gonna go throw on maybe the Kevin Hart roast. He's gonna go throw on a cigarette like it's a fucking TV show, but it practically is for him at this point. He's gonna go throw on a cigarette and just fucking take a drag and sit and think about, man, sports were great in the early 2000s. Man, so-and-so had a great season that year. and then they're just going to sit, and then what the fun thing about growing up in America is that your parents have done it too, except their America looked entirely different. Not really per se, they were still growing up in this, but they were not, you know what I mean? The guy from Shark Tank wasn't going to be building an AI data center in their backyard anytime soon. It was just a guy your mom liked to watch on the TV, and in all honesty, she didn't like his attitude. Your dad liked his attitude. Your dad liked when he yelled at people, but your mom's favorite was Robert Herjavec. Your mom's favorite was Lori. Your mom's favorite was someone who was a little more, of course, the feminine spirit, a little more loving, a little more caring, a little more gracious. But, you're never going to get your parents to agree on, quite frankly, anything with you, except for if you voice it in the most common sense terms. You don't have to go up to them and say, hey, you guys grew up watching Schindler's List. You guys grew up in the 80s. You guys grew up without the internet. I understand you probably don't even know what a Freemason is. They probably don't. So it's up to you to help them. They didn't have the internet when they were kids. They didn't grow up in it. They were not watching cartel beheading videos on Live Leak in 8th grade. They in all honesty, it's kind of cute. They have like a smaller view of the world. It's like, it's not as global, but it's deep. It's just, if anything, it's deeper than your relationship with everything, because you view it through a lens, you view it through a screen. Your parents actually lived it more often than not. Not you directly, but you know who I'm talking to if it's you. But ladies and gentlemen,